Hello there, Pixel Pushers. It's Sadiq Hussain here again from the Pixel Pushers YouTube channel with another tutorial video on creating your own custom brush tips, or brushes as a lot of other people call it, but I tend to say brush tips. But this time we're going to look at creating a collection of clouds, brushes specifically to paint clouds. It's always a good idea to have in your inventory a selection of photographs of skies, so just taken by yourself. Yes, you could take some stock photos from within Affinity Photo here, stock photography tool. I've looked at some cloud pictures there already, so just search for clouds. There's plenty there, but why not take your own? And what I would certainly suggest is from the puff slotting in a sky on a photograph where the sky is a bit dull but the rest of the foreground is fantastic, is to have a collection of sky photographs anyway, with or without clouds, different seasons, different moods, different lighting conditions, sunsets, sunrises, all sorts of things, urban, rural, and so on, and have that collection. But that collection can also be used for extracting details from skies, like cloud formation. So that's what we're going to look at today, creating some brush tips from 3 different cloud formations. And of course, once you've done 1 or 2, you can do a whole collection of them and have that saved as brushes, perhaps in a folder in the brushes section called clouds if you do a lot of it, but certainly in a custom brush section, which we'll show you in a little while. In fact, I've already covered it, and you've come here probably from the previous video that I did on creating a brand signature brush, which was very popular, and that's selecting or creating and then selecting some text, whether it's handwritten text like a signature or whether it's typewritten text. But this is taking an image and selecting a part of it, whether that's clouds, which is what we're going to do here today, or whether it's leaves, trees, twigs, bushes, flowers, grass, blades of grass, moss, other types of vegetation, so you can help blend in certain elements from one photograph to another. So this is all working up towards making a composition, an effective composition of different elements from different photographs, and then helping to blend it in with some specialized brush tips, so you can sort of paint round the base or around the edges where one item sits on top of another. So we'll be getting to that in future videos, but let's do this cloud brush creation. So this is the photograph where we're going to place some clouds, and on here. So there's just a few clouds, and of course I could just select this and then create a brush from that, but that'll be a bit repetitive and I don't want it to look all the samey. Plus I want to show you from different images. So let me open up a couple of photographs that I've already got here. For example, there's that one. There's where's the others? Okay. There's that one, just the small ones there at the top there, and that one as well. Okay, so let's open that one for now. So we've got that image open, and we've got, not that one, we'll just move that over there, that was from a previous tutorial. So we've got, we can delete that one as well, we don't need that just now. So these 2 images, this one, and I deleted the other one, let me open the other one again. Okay, so backlit cloud, okay, there's 2, and then we'll do a third one, open a third one, so we can get them all ready. I could have had them all there initially, but I wanted to just show you the sequence. Okay, let's just cancel that. Move that over there. That's the destination. And then the final one we wanted to open was Or perhaps I should have numbered them, but never mind. Okay, those three. Okay. So we're going to take that cloud, create a brush tip, one of these clouds and form a brush tip, and one of these clouds, and then place them on there. Okay, so let's start with this one. So if I just zoom in, and don't do anything to the image, just use your selection brush tool and keep the brush quite small and just roughly select. It doesn't have to be that accurate. The thing that I would recommend that you do is, once you've done a rough selection, is go up to the select menu and go to grow and shrink, and you just want to grow the selection by just 1 or 2 pixels. I'll just pick 2, so it's not hugging the edge of the actual wispy part of the clouds. It might be just grows it a little bit. You could probably grow that a bit more, so you expand the selection area a little bit more. Not critical, but it might help in the blending process when you paste it. Once we've done that, we just click on refine. And I've shown you this before, that in Affinity, even if it's a very basic selection, always click on refine, because what I might want to do is to feather the edge a little bit, just by a couple of pixels. And then I want the selection to be on a new layer, so it's ready for me to create, export, ready to create a brush. So okay, so I've done that. So that's now, as you can see, on a new layer. There's the original image there in the background. We just put that back on, don't need that anymore. It's just this that we're interested in. If we click on the move tool, that gives us that image that we want to export as a PNG file. So if you've seen my other videos, you know that you have to export it as a PNG, because it preserves the alpha pixels, the see-through or semi-transparent pixels. We don't want that, otherwise it'll just appear as a white cloud on a white background. So if I go to File and Export, make sure it's PNG, not JPEG. And down here, we don't want the whole document, we just want to export the selection only. So that means just that middle where the cloud is. And just have a look at the size. So it's 1000 pixels by 600. That's reasonably large, so maybe we could bring that down a little bit. This is a little bit of trial and error, but generally speaking, you don't want the brush tip to be too large. You certainly want it to be well under a megabyte, but kilobytes is fine, but depends on your image sizes and resolutions, of course. So you could always do more than one selection and create different resolution brushes. Export, and as I've said before, create a folder on your computer called brushes, something along those lines, and then whatever you save, it will be appropriate to that particular files that you're saving. So I'm just going to save that in there. Okay, so that's saved. And I'm going to actually import each brush as we go along. So if I go to the brushes palette on the right hand side, and then we got the 3 bars, which is the sub menu for the brushes palette, make sure that your brushes palette is selected, or studio as Affinity likes to call it, the brushes studio, and then click on the 3 or the hamburger symbol, and click down to new image brush, and in there the one that we've just created would have been that one. As you can see, that's the one that we've just created. Click open, and it's put it directly in the basic brushes. Now we don't want it really, keep it in the basics. It's always a good idea to put them in the folder that you want to put them in initially, eventually, sorry. So create a new category. It will just create one called brushes, so you just need to rename that category. So it says, do you want to rename the category called brushes? Yes, I do. I want to call it clouds, because if you're going to have a few, might as well have its own category. You could just put it in a folder called, a category called custom brushes, and that's fine, but eventually you might have too many of them and difficulty finding them. So now if I go back to basic brushes, which is where that last one was, this one, if I right click on it, it allows me to move to a new category, and I want to move it to clouds, which was just there. Okay, there's another one I did earlier, so I can move that one now as well. You can obviously move it anytime. Okay, so they're now in clouds. So if we go to clouds, and let's pick the one that we've just created. The key parameter to change when you're painting with an image that you only want to use as like a spot of paint rather than painting with it with a brush loaded with that imagery is that you need to do the spacing. So this slider about halfway down, you need to push that right the way to the right. And if you notice what's happening here and what's happening on the brush, the actual brush type, you can see that by spacing it out, it's separating out the brush into individual clouds. Otherwise it'll just paint in the image of a cloud, but that really won't help us. So that's the only parameter you need to change. So if we now go to our image that we want to paint on, select brush, but obviously select the right image, we can change the size of it, reduce the size. Be mindful that always when you're painting on top of an existing image, don't paint directly onto it. Always create a new pixel layer for each new element added. That allows you to then adjust and control and blend in that particular element, because each element will be slightly different in lighting, in tone, in white balance, and all sorts of things. So have a new pixel layer, and then just maybe look at the size of the brush. And maybe if it's big like this, you want it nearer the foreground. So maybe I could just sort of dab one there, and all I just clicked once and it's gone in there. And if I wanted the same one again in a slightly different place, if it's further away, you need to reduce the size of it. So maybe I could put one there. And of course, if I wanted to change the orientation of it, I can change that just by using the left and right cursor keys. I mean, you certainly don't want it to be, like that. Clouds very rarely are like that, but you might want to change it so that it's not exactly the same as the one that we've just done. So maybe like that there, and just dab it there. And then maybe we'll just do one more time, and we'll just change this. In fact, the way the cloud appears, the clouds appear there, you might want to just have some of it off screen. So we've added it 3 times, and each one looks slightly different. Okay, so let's go to another one of the images, and perhaps we want to select this cloud here. So again, go to the selection tool. So we're just going through the same process, but selecting a different cloud. Okay, so let's just select this one with a bit of backlighting. Okay, and actually I've selected too much there. So go into subtract, reduce the size of the brush, zoom in, and just push that selection back again. That's better. So we want that, and we want to push that out a bit so that we select this wisp of cloud as well. Okay, that's fine. And then again, go to select, grow and shrink, and I'm going to grow it by 3 pixels. Then click refine, feather it a couple of pixels, 3 pixels. You'll notice it's got a bit of blue in there. Now you could laboriously take out that blue, but in fact, if you are going to be putting that cloud using that brush on a blue sky, then it will blend in. But if it's on a different type of sky, like a sunset sky, then clearly you might want to then change that blue using the hue, saturation and luminosity adjustment layer from blue to a warmer color. So that can be done afterwards with an adjustment layer. Hence why actually putting each of the brush strokes of the clouds or any other element that you're putting onto your master image is put them on separate pixel layers, and then you can have each layer can have its own mask, so that you could then do adjustments and also mask out certain areas of it by using the black or white brush should you need to. Won't always need to. So back to this then. So we want to put it on a new layer. I'd put it onto a new layer, and that'll just take a second or two. Okay, so that's done. And then we just go to the move tool. Again, that's what we've selected. That's what we're going to create the brush tip from. So we go to File and Export. Because we selected PNG last time, it defaults to that again, so that's good. Always do this selection area only, not the whole image, because the file will be too big. That's reasonable size. In fact, that cloud was quite small anyway. So that's a backlit cloud in the brushes folder. On a Mac, it remembers the last folder that you used. That may be the same in Windows. I'm not as familiar with the Windows recent reiterations to be confidently to say that it does, or you might be able to change it in settings, but certainly on a Mac it does. So that we've done that. While we're here, let's just do the final selection as well from the final cloud from this. Okay, so we're going to zoom in and we're going to select this. Okay, so then we'll have to create two new brushes from what we've just selected or exported PNGs. So I've got a relatively small selection brush here, so it just takes a bit longer to select your cloud. It doesn't matter. Just push it out to the edges of whatever object is that you're selecting. I mean, we're doing clouds now, but it could be leaves, it could be branches, it could be moss, it could be all sorts of things. So we'll leave it at that. And again, click select and grow and shrink. And again, I'd grow it by a couple of pixels. And then click refine. I can find my mouse cursor. There it is. Refine. Feather it a little bit. And then put it on a new layer. Just makes it easier when you put it on a new layer. Because as soon as you put it on a new layer, then the background layer gets disabled. It's not ticked anymore. That's the way it was. So you're really left with what you've selected. Then go to the move tool. That puts a selection box around it. That then tells when we want to export it. File, export, PNG. We've got the option then is selection area only. Okay, so that's always a good marker for that. And so that's the right size. So again, that's the cumulus small in brushes. Great. So those are done. So we can now shut these images down. Don't need those anymore. Don't need that one. Shut that one down just to stop the confusion later on. We don't need that image open anymore. So really all we want is that image there. Okay, so we want to import those two brushes, new images. So the hamburger symbol, when you're on the brushes palette, new image brush, and backlit cloud. Let's do the backlit cloud first. And because we're in the clouds section, it's imported it directly into that, which is great. So again, double tap or double click and just do the spacing. Okay, that's all you want to do. And then we can use that, which is a different cloud. It's got a different lighting condition to it. So, you might need to make some adjustments to it. You might only want to use it once on this picture. Don't be tempted to use it several times on the same image. Yes, you could distort it. Actually, see, I've put that actually on the same pixel layer. So always have a new pixel layer. So I've deleted it on a new pixel layer, and then just tap it and put that there. Okay, and let's have a really large version of it up here. So we could just, there we go. That looks quite effective there. And then let's just import in the other brush, a new image brush. And so we've done backlit, we've done we haven't done that one, so let's do that one again. Double tap, double click, to the spacing, and that will give us a totally different. So we could have a large cloud, let's say there, and then quite a small version of it, maybe right down here. So again, see, it's easy to make that mistake, is that I've put it on the same layer. So you mustn't put it on the same layer. Let's create a new pixel layer. It's easy to get carried away. So let's just put that on there and there. And just remember that the further away it is along the horizon, the smaller it will need to be, and the nearer it is, the bigger it needs to be. Okay. So I deleted that previous one, didn't I? So let me just put that back in. But I'm going to put it on a new pixel layer. Let's put it just there. Okay, so we've got 2 or 3 different clouds on there. Now for each one of these layers, say for example this one here, let's just select it so we know which one it is. This particular one, what we need to do is to blend it all in, you could change the nature of that particular image just by adding an adjustment layer. So if I just add a quick curves adjustment, but to be mindful, you don't want to put the curves adjustment above all of the layers, because that'll adjust everything. So you just click that adjustment layer down and to the right until it clips into place as a daughter layer of that particular one. So it's now sort of grouped within that. So anything I do will only affect that particular layer. So for example, this one, if I move the curves adjustment, can you see it's only affecting that? And in fact, we do want to make it a bit brighter just to help it blend in with these other clouds here, these original ones. So that's something you can do, you see, if they're on separate layers and you want to help to blend them in. So let this one here, let's just click on that and select that one. Again, let's do an adjustment layer, and curves tends to work best for most things, but not everything. So try different adjustment layers, white balance, the hue and saturation, and so on. So it's this part that we're changing. So again, I've created an adjustment layer, I've positioned it in the layer stack appropriately, so that what we want to do is keep an eye on that cloud, so that it only affects that layer. Okay, and this is key to help you blend things in. Okay, and then finally we'll do this one, which is obviously in 3 times there, and then do the same, do another adjustment layer. Let's do another curves one. Again, we want to position it so it's in the right place, that adjustment layer. Now we're looking at that cloud there. That's way too dark in comparison to the others, so we just need to see, that would be too dark. So clearly you could spend a bit more time in perfecting that, but that's your general principle of it. And always zoom back here out just to have a quick look at it and see do things blend in. So this one is maybe these particular ones, maybe they're not quite right, so we want to add another adjustment layer to that one. You can try the levels adjustment layer, so just move that adjustment layer and clip it into that layer, and then let's just, so we're now looking at this cloud here. If you take it extreme to the other way, you know where you need to help blend it in. Remember, it's going to resemble that cloud more than anything else. Okay, so there's a quick tutorial on mainly creating your own cloud brush tips. So they are now saved in a section within the brushes palette that I've named clouds. But of course you just name it whatever's suitable to you. I've got 4 there already, 1 that was already created earlier and 3 others. But you can then add more as you go along, particularly when you see an interesting cloud formation and you take a photograph of it. Now looking at this now, just very quickly, that cloud is a bit too soft around the edges compared to the others. So maybe I wouldn't have that one so large. I would maybe reduce the size of it a little bit. Okay, but that's something you can do because they're all on separate layers. Okay, I hope you found that useful. Create your own brush tips for clouds initially, and then as we go further along, we'll be using the same technique, but for all sorts of other objects that you can select from within a variety of pictures. So I'll see you next time. Again, any comments, thoughts, or suggestions, please put them in the comment section, and do give it a like if you found it useful. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It really helps to get the channel and the content noticed. Really what I want to do is, my mission is to spread the word about this great software program, Affinity Photo. I use it, I teach it, and I want other people to benefit from it as well, especially at the affordable price, one-off price of less than £50. And of course, if you wait for a sale, you can get it even cheaper. So it's well worth it. And you're supporting a local software company. Local if you live in the UK. If you live in the US, then of course, then it's a foreign software company. But it's good competition for Adobe. So thanks for supporting this, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.